The fourth Nikudah, the fourth vowel, is the Segol. The Segol has a sound like eh. If you put a Segol under the Aleph, it's Segol Aleph eh.
I don't have the Segol.
Turn it over.
Segol Beis Be. Segol Gimel Ge. That is the sound of the Segol. The graphic design of the Segol are 3 dots. 1 dot to the right, 1 dot to the left, and 1 dot to the center. And these 3 dots also allude to Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And the fact that it is the fourth Nikudah alludes to the 4 mothers, Sarah, Rivka, Rachav, and Leah. What is the meaning of Segol? Segol has 2 meanings. Number 1, it means remedy. And number 2, it means treasure. Now, we spoke earlier in the previous Nikudah that the Tzedei also represents remedy. But the difference is, there are 2 types of remedy. One is called refuah, and one is called segula. Refuah is a remedy that is logical. It is based on medicine, it is based on empirical proof that this thing works. However, the segula is a remedy that is not based on medicine. It is a remedy that is above nature. It's alternative medicine. It's something that we don't have any records on or proof, but yet we know that it works. Because when the person was sick and he had this segula, he had this remedy, the person became well. So a segula is a medicine or a remedy that is beyond logic. It's like a person who goes to a doctor and the doctor says, I cannot help you. They go to a tzaddik, they go to a holy Rebbe, and the Rebbe gives a bracha, a blessing. And the Rebbe says, check your mezuzahs, and the person gets well. It's a segula. Why did the person get well? Because of the blessing? We don't understand. But we know that it worked. The person was sick, the doctor said they cannot help, and now the person is healthy. That is a segula. It's a remedy which is beyond logic. At Matan Torah, at the giving of the Torah, the Jewish people became the Am Segula. We became a nation of Segula. Why did we become a nation of Segula? Because number 1, our job was to bring remedy to the world, to bring healing to the world. But also, the entire existence and the entire operation of the Jewish people is totally beyond logic. It's totally beyond nature. Because at Matan Torah, at the giving of the Torah, we were charged to be la'or goyim. We were charged with the obligation to become the light unto all the nations of the world. And God says, through the Torah, we have the ability to transform the physical, finite world and make this physical, everyday, finite, modern world holy. Before the giving of the Torah, there was a separation of heaven and earth. And these 2 cannot be fused together. Once the Torah was given, now we were given this segula. We were given this medicine. We were given this remedy to transform the physical and make the physical spiritual. It's something which is totally beyond understanding. It's totally beyond logic. And furthermore, the fact that we are the smallest of all the nations, and amongst the Jewish people, those that do the mitzvahs are even less, and yet God charged this very small number of people with the mission to transform the entire world and bring healing and redemption. That alone is illogical. Yet God says you can do it. You are an Am Segula. And this is the meaning of the verse in the book of Deuteronomy, where it says over there, B'cha bochar Hashem, God chose you, liyes loy la'am segula, to be a nation of segula. And then it goes on to say, why did God choose you? Not because you are many or strong, but rather ki atem hama'at mikol ha'amim, because you're the smallest. That's the answer. God chose us because we're the smallest. But rather the answer is, because we're the smallest, we have the ability to transform the world because we are Am Segula. Because we are given this power of the Torah, which is the remedy beyond logic. Now, even though we're the smallest, yet we have the ability to transform the entire world. And all of this is founded in the Nikud of the Segol, because the Segol, as we said earlier, represents Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Where did we get the power to do this? We got the power to do this from our forefathers. That's why they're called our forefathers, because each one of us inherits their talents. Each one of us inherits their capabilities. And we know that Abraham represented the concept of chesed, kindness, because Abraham and Sarah had a tent that was open from all four sides, and guests would come all times of the day, and they would feed the guests, and after they finished eating, they would tell the guests, now thank the host. So the guests would say, thank you, Avraham, thank you, Sarah. He says, no, we're not the host. Who's the host? God. We don't believe in God. Fine, pay the bill. Okay, we'll pay the bill. Well, we have a steak, we had a Frankfurter. So $25. Okay, here's $25. No, it's not $25. It's $15,000. Are you crazy, Avraham? $15,000 for a little steak? He says, look, we have the monopoly in the desert. There are no other restaurants for the next hundreds of miles. We could charge what we like. So you either pay $15,000 or you thank God by saying, Hazanes ha'olam kulei b'tuvei, by making the grace after meals. If you're smart, you make the grace after meals. And that is the way Avraham would inspire the people to acknowledge a God. And this was through his kindness, through his chesed. And then you had Yitzchak, which represented Gevura, severity. Yitzchak was a very critical person, critical of himself, and therefore he was always working on himself to refine himself, to better himself, to the degree that we find that God told Avraham, put Yitzchak on the altar. At the age of 37 years old, Avraham was told to take his only son Isaac and put him upon the altar for an offering, because Yitzchak was so perfect. He was so refined because of his personal criticism that he was perfect to be a sacrifice before God. Of course, we know that God does not accept human sacrifices, and ultimately he told Abraham, take Yitzchak down from the altar. And then we have Yaakov, which represents Teferes. Teferes is mercy. The unique quality of the Segol, these three personalities, is that not that we have these three different personalities at three different times. On Sunday you have Ram, and Monday you act like Yitzchak, and then Tuesday you act like Yaakov. But rather, we have the ability to bring all of these three different personalities and internalize them at the same time. If 1 minute you have Ram, and the next minute you're Yitzchak, you're schizophrenic. But if you're able to internalize all three qualities at the same time, then you're Am Segula. Then you are a special nation. You are a treasured nation. Then you have this power of remedy that is beyond intellect and beyond logic and beyond time and space. So where do we get the ability to transform the physical and make it into spiritual? Where do we take the guts and the chutzpah to take on the whole world by the horns and say, we're going to change you, and we're going to bring the light of God to you? We get this guts, we get this chutzpah from Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, because they were the Am Segula. They were the fathers of this holy nation. And we find that Avraham himself had this unique quality. Though he was one, yet he conquered the entire world. And it says in the book of Ezekiel, Echad hoya Avraham. Avraham was one. V'yirash es haaretz, yet he inherited the entire land. What does that mean? We know that Avraham was called Avraham Ha'ivri. Why was it called Avraham Ha'ivri? Generally, it's translated Avraham the Jew, or Avraham Ha'ivri, who came from the other side, Me'aver HaNahar, from the other side, Transjordan. But the Medrash says, why was it called Ha'ivri? The Medrash says an amazing thing. Because Aver means a side. Says the Medrash, the entire world is on one side, and Avraham is on the other side. And Avraham basically outweighs the entire world. That's why it's called Avraham Ivri. Echad Haya Avraham, he was only one, but yet he caused the entire world to acknowledge monotheism and to acknowledge one God. And we, who are the children of Avraham, have this spiritual gene to be able to transform the world and bring the knowledge of God to the entire world. Segol also means treasure, a treasured nation. Why are we called treasured? One explanation is that all the mitzvahs that we do, the study of Torah and the giving of charity, and the blessing of the Shabbos candles, and going to the mikveh, and keeping kosher, all of these mitzvahs, all of these good deeds, are kamunach bekufsa. They are like a treasure that is locked up in a box. Most of the treasures and the best treasures you don't show off to your friends. You keep it locked up in a safe. And you have a big treasure box with a big, big lock on it, and you throw away the key. You don't want anybody to see it. And the same is true that we are a treasured nation because all of the mitzvahs that we do and all of the study of the Torah that we perform throughout all the generations, all of these good deeds are put away into a box with a treasure. When are we going to open up the treasure box? When are we going to merit to see the reward for all the hard work and from all the blood and all the suffering and all the tears that the Jewish nation has given to God throughout the entire history? This will happen when Mashiach comes. And there will be the resurrection of the dead. Then it says God will reward us for all the actions and all the mitzvahs that we did. Even Gan Eden, even paradise, the world of souls, where the souls go after they die. Even in that world, they don't get the full reward for the mitzvahs that was done and performed in their lifetime. Paradise is like a hotel. It's a resort. It's a good place. It's a happy place. It's a joyous place. There's a lot of light. But the reward comes only after Mashiach will come to the world, and there will be the Tchias HaMeis and the resurrection of the dead. And therefore we are called Am Segula. We have patience. We know that every good deed that we do, we will get rewarded for. And the world will one day realize that we are the treasured nation. But in the meantime, we have to put away the mitzvahs. We have to store them in this treasure box until the world to come. And all of this has the gematria of 30, alluding to Avraham and Yitzchak and Yaakov. When a person serves God with all his 10 attributes, the 3 intellectual attributes and the 7 emotional attributes, or the 10 sfirot, then a person is complete. So just like in a shul, when you have 10 people together, you have a minyan. Now you have a complete edifice, a place where God will dwell. The Shekhinah dwells amongst 10 people. The same is true within each individual. We create this Eidah, this Kehillah, this congregation. If we congregate, if we bring together all of our 10 attributes, and we serve God not only with lip service in the synagogue by reading the prayer book, but our mind is thinking about the stock market or the baseball game, and our emotions are thinking about the ice cream or the steak we're going to have after services, but rather all 10 of the faculties, our thought and our emotion, are all connected with God, then we are truly complete. And therefore we are told that we come from Am Segula, we come from Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, that each one of them serve God completely. And that is the gematria of 30. The sphera of the Segol is the sphere of chesed, the sphere of kindness, the sphere of giving. And even though we spoke earlier that it represents Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, but the first of the 7 attributes is the most important. It starts the attributes because the basic difference between the attributes and the intellect is that intellect is for oneself. If you want to learn something and study something, you have to lock yourself up in a room and close the world up from behind you, because if you're going to be talking to your friends, it's very difficult to concentrate. When it comes to midos, when it comes to attributes, when it comes to emotions, on the contrary, the only way you could truly be a kind person is by giving to somebody else. You can't say, oh, I love you, I want to help you. I want to help you, you have to help the person. Wanting to help is not a kind person. It's the action. So when it comes to chesed, which is the first of the 7 emotional attributes, we change the paradigm here. Rather than focusing on oneself, we begin to focus now, how can I do kindness with another person? So the Segol begins the attributes, and it starts with the attribute of chesed, of kindness. This is the meaning of the Nikudah of the Segol, which is the soul of the letters.